Hi there, Old and Surly here. Today we're taking a quick look at a Republic Bricks MOC that I picked up from their website during their recent moving sale. They're currently moving from California to Florida and they've had a lot of good deals on many of their sets. And I happened to pick up this UCS Tri-Droid there. It's made by one of their creators that goes by the name of Lego SW Guy or Lego Star Wars Guy. It contains 385 pieces, takes about an hour to build, and stands about 11 inches tall once fully assembled. Now, there have not been a lot of actual Tri-Droids built in the LEGO actual sets. In fact, I only believe there's one that I'm aware of back in 2014, and that particular set only stood about 6 inches tall, so about half the size of this one. And based on the images I've seen of that particular build, it's a lot more blocky, doesn't have as many points of articulation, and doesn't have as granular and fine detail as you see here. So I think it's good for a play set. I just don't think it would really look good in a MOC or in a nice display set. Whereas this UCS gives you a lot of that granular and specific detail that you would want for those type of things, but it does suffer from a little bit of a lack of playability because obviously having all these points of articulation, a lot thinner design, and a lot more streamlined interfaces like that, it doesn't have as much rugged playability as you would find in a lot of the Lego kits. So this would be good for a more advanced builder or a older child that wanted to perhaps set up a MOC. I wouldn't recommend it for a young builder or a young person that wants to actually play with this on a regular basis because it will tend to probably fail at different points. And while some of these areas are pretty easy to put back together, if they happen to dislodge any of the pieces in this central sphere, you end up with probably a pretty lengthy rebuild on your hands, and I don't think that would be good from a play perspective. It'd be fine for a normal, builder like myself. If I knocked it over, I could put it back together relatively quickly. And speaking of that, that's probably the only point in this build that took about an hour, as I mentioned. Although if you were to take this build and read the instructions ahead of time, the instructions are very clear and detailed, by the way. Most of the legs and many pieces of this central sphere for the robot's head are actually repetitive steps. So if you were to do them simultaneously, instead of doing one leg at a time or one side, do them all together, you could probably shave this from an hour down to about 45 minutes. But as I was saying, when you start building this central sphere, and if you look at the time lapse, you'll actually see the point that this happens. At first, you're building with the studs up, then you're going to rotate it and begin building it internally, and then there's going to be several headlight pieces inside, headlight bricks, that you're going to use to actually allow the studs to be up and down on the head so you can get that really full sphere appearance. That's probably the most sensitive point of the actual build, in that it uses 4 headlight pieces to cause that transition. And it takes a couple steps after you put those in to really strengthen them up enough to where you're not going to get a little bit of frustration of them kind of breaking off at the worst time. But once you get past those first couple steps of that, once you've done those headlight brick installations, it firms up very nicely. And I've actually made the mistake of knocking this over by accident. I hit it and it broke the sphere in half. And where it broke was at those headlight studs. And all it took was a few minutes of kind of reassembling those pieces and putting it back in. So you don't have to start from scratch if you do accidentally have a break in the build of this. You just have to kind of connect the larger pieces together to reform that sphere. But other than that, it was a very, very fun build. I had no major issues. I found it interesting all the way through, even though you are doing several things, multiple times. I will say this is going to go up on my display wall or into a future MOC. I'm definitely not going to hand this off to any of the younger builders that I have running around the house. Other than that, I'd say I would heartily encourage folks that are interested to go take a look at it on the Republic Bricks site. I will provide a link to it. I'm not getting any money from them. There's no feedback, from them on who does or doesn't. I just think it's an interesting piece that a lot of folks that are in the MOCs, especially regarding separatist army, droid army types of builds, would really enjoy this type of piece. It costs around $90 on their website. I'm sorry, $99 on their website normally. They currently have it on sale for $80, if I remember correctly. Now that's about 20 to 25 cents a piece based on the fact that this is about just under 400 pieces. So it doesn't quite hit that magical 10-cent per piece average that we like to see from what you would call a regular Lego set. But then again, there's a number of Lego sets out there that don't even hit that magical 10-cent per piece average either. So I'm not going to hold that against anybody. And you have to take into consideration when you buy a MOC, you're paying for that creator's time. And in the case of Republic Bricks, you're paying for them going out and sourcing all the pieces for you, getting the license paid for that creator to ensure that they're being reimbursed for actually using the design, and all that time and effort that you're saving having to try to maybe source these pieces from Rebrickable yourself, or I'm sorry, through Bricklink yourself. So just take that into mind whenever you see a price on a MOC. They're generally going to be more expensive, and you're paying for the quality and the time of the creator and the overall quality of the build and the design that you just will not probably ever see from Lego directly, simply because they focus on playability, which I understand, it's a toy, but at the same point, for us more senior and older builders, we like to have that display ability just as much as we like the playability. So again, thanks for watching. If you have any questions or would like to see any additional photos, or if you are building this set and you run into any problems, please feel free to reach out. I love to answer questions or any comments. I also will be posting my time-lapse build of this so that you can see how it went for me throughout the different steps in kind of an accelerated fashion. Again, this is Old and Surly saying thanks for watching, have a great day, and keep building.